It's just a huge generational win to actually say the words Roe versus Wade has been overruled. That is something that so many of your viewers, that so many at Alliance Defending Freedom have been working for decades. And that means that states have the power to protect life.
Now that Roe v. Wade's been overturned, do we all just go home? Is the job done, or is there lots left to do?
Absolutely not. I think actually the work is just beginning. So until Roe versus Wade was overruled, states, communities, churches were really handcuffed from protecting life, from helping women to encourage families to flourish. And now states are allowed and empowered to protect those lives, both mothers and children. And we really must come alongside those women and support life.
There's a concerted effort, I'm finding, for people to really establish personhood for babies in the womb. And science has helped so much with this, with the ultrasounds, the 3D and 4D imaging. What's next in recognizing rights for babies in the womb?
You know, that's a great question, and there's certainly a good argument to be made. You know, the United States Constitution, as interpreted by the Supreme Court, currently protects corporations as persons. So one would think the babies, unborn babies, could also be protected as persons under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And I think a lot of work needs to be done by legal scholars, by advocates before the court, to just encourage this idea that we have the history under the 14th Amendment to protect unborn babies.
And now that the Supreme Court has returned the authority and the rights to the states to decide what's going to happen with regard to abortion, what will these laws look like? I mean, does each state sort of have a template, or is there a prototype that they're going to go by, or can they start from scratch?
I think you'll see a lot of different approaches. And if you look at the legal landscape before Roe, there were a handful of states, I think 12 states, that had trigger laws that said if and when Roe was overruled, then we as a state want to protect life. There were another handful of states that had pre-Roe laws that were on the books, but weren't being enforced because of Roe. And then there were some states that had laws that had been enjoined by federal courts because of Roe versus Wade. So now we've got all these different sort of laws that states can use to protect children. Some of those are even being challenged in court as we speak. But the legal community and states, the legal pro-life community, I should say, and states will do everything they can to support and defend these pro-life laws.
Erin, tell us a little bit about some of the ways that Alliance Defending Freedom is celebrating and protecting life.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's just a huge generational win to actually say the words Roe versus Wade has been overruled. That is something that so many of your viewers, that so many at Alliance Defending Freedom have been working for decades. And that means that states have the power to protect life. And as we discussed in the last segment, Roe is an extreme outlier among international law. It required states to permit on-demand elective abortions for any reason up until viability, which is 21 or 22 weeks of age. It wouldn't even allow a really modest law like Mississippi's, which protects life starting only at 15 weeks. So it is a huge win that Roe versus Wade is gone. But as we mentioned, the work is really beginning. Alliance Defending Freedom and others will be defending these pro-life state laws. We will be encouraging churches and communities to come alongside women and promote flourishing from conception through birth and beyond.
Sometimes I sit and think of possible scenarios in the future. Just like the Supreme Court was able to make abortion legal in all of the states, is it possible that the Supreme Court could make abortion illegal in all of the states?
So there's an argument to be made under the 14th Amendment, like we're talking about, that the unborn are persons under the 14th Amendment. I think initially what we're going to need to focus on is these individual states, because right now under the current decision, states have the power to protect life. But as we're seeing, and as we saw in anticipation of Roe's demise, a lot of liberal states are still permitting abortion up until the moment of birth. And that is just outlandish, given what we know about babies and their development much earlier. So we need to promote a culture of life throughout each and every state. We need to advocate at state legislators. We need to have these pregnancy care centers in every community where there's an abortion facility, and we need to protect women and their children.
Does the overturning of Roe versus Wade have any significant effect in states like California, where we have a bill, and I can't remember the name of it, you probably know it, that involved protecting physicians against abortion for perinatal birth problems, which has been described as being able to abort children feasibly after they're born, which would amount to infanticide. Is that an overstatement, or what do you think?
Absolutely not. So in a couple of bills around the country, including California, there was this language about perinatal death. And what it did was it immunized doctors as well as parents and forbid any investigation into, quote, perinatal death. And the perinatal period extends at least 7 days beyond birth. So this bill, on its face, exempted negligent infant death until 7 days after birth. So completely outrageous sort of law, definitely infanticide. And the Roe decision doesn't have anything directly to say about that, but it certainly says that the people of California can come in and say, no, we don't support infanticide. We want to protect life.
I'm not a lawyer, but what's wrong with thinking that if abortion is killing a baby, and I believe that it is, and murder is illegal in all of our states, why then would we allow any state to legalize abortion?
I think that's a great question, Kurt. And if you look at the scientific evidence, this was one of the interesting things about the Roe debate. In 1973, if you look at an ultrasound, you really can't see much. So you can almost, no, you can't, but you can almost understand sort of what the justices were thinking when they called it potential life, when they called a baby potential life. Today, that argument no longer exists. If you look at a 4D ultrasound, science suggests, or actually proves, I should say science establishes that life begins at conception. And so you're absolutely correct that every state, I think, should protect life. We know it's life, and we know that it's worthy of protection.
So as we look to the near future, what's the next big item coming down the line? What is the legal focus going to be now that Roe has been overturned?
So I would encourage all of your voters in every state to focus on their states and on their communities. That is the next battleground. We are going to see legal challenges to pro-life laws. We are going to see state Supreme Courts being asked to enshrine abortion in state law, in state constitutions. And this is something that must absolutely be stopped. Every life is deserving of protection. Human life is a right. So we need to convince voters as well as the courts to protect life.
That's right. This battle is not over. It's just beginning, but the tide is shifting and things are moving in the right direction. And now's the chance to lean in with everything that we've got and protect life.